Let's go back in time. The place is Mann Gulch, Montana. The date is August 5th, 1949. We have 16 men, and they are caught in a desperate, life-or-death race against a wall of fire. A race they are absolutely going to lose. But right at the peak of this frantic scramble for safety, their leader does something that to everyone else looks completely insane. He stops, turns his back on the only way out, and lights another fire right in their path. So the question that just hangs over this entire story is, why? Why would you do that when a monster is literally breathing down your neck? To even begin to understand that choice, you have to understand the race they were in. And believe me, this wasn't just a fire. It was a predator, and these men were its prey. I mean, just look at how impossible this situation was. They're trying to run up a 76% grade hill. That's basically a cliff. The air temperature is a blistering 97 degrees, and the wall of flame chasing them, it's over 30 feet tall, moving at 600 feet a minute, and it roars like a jet engine. Let's be clear, no human being can outrun that uphill. It's just not possible. So, who were these men who were sent into this impossible situation? And what was their mission even supposed to be in the first place? Well, you really have to understand the dynamic of this crew because it's critical. On one side, you have foreman Wag Dodge. He's 33, a quiet, seasoned veteran, one of the pioneers of the whole Smokejumper program. He just gets fire. On the other side, his crew. These guys were the best of the best, the elite, but they were young. We're talking college kids on a summer job, average age around 20. Super confident, super athletic, but for a lot of them, this was their very first fire. And that experience gap is so important because, the mission itself seemed deceptively simple. From the air, it was just a small Class C fire. The crew really thought they were jumping into a routine mop-up job, something they'd have handled by the next morning. Easy. So confidence was sky high. And why wouldn't it be? In the entire 10-year history of the elite Smokejumper program, this is the number of men who had ever died in a fire. 0. Not a single one. They were flying into what they thought was just another day at the office, backed by a perfect safety record. But from the absolute second they left that plane, a whole series of seemingly small failures began to pile up, one by one, springing a deadly trap. It was just a cascade of failures. First, the air was so rough, one guy got airsick and couldn't jump, a decision that absolutely saved his life. The rest of the crew? They landed scattered all over the place, not as a tight unit. Then, the cargo chute with their only radio slammed into the ground and was destroyed. Just like that, their only link to the outside world gone. So now they're disorganized and they're completely alone. And as soon as Dodge gets his boots on the ground and gets his bearings, his veteran instincts start screaming at him. He sees the fire over on the other side of the gulch, burning in the heavy timber. But he also sees what his men are standing in, a sea of knee-high, tinder-dry cheatgrass. He knew with this cold certainty that if that fire jumped across the gulch into that grass, it wouldn't just burn, it would explode. His plan made sense. Get the men down toward the river, put a natural barrier at their backs. But they were already marching right into the fire's path, and in just a few minutes, that trap would spring shut, forcing Dodge to make that impossible, that seemingly insane choice. I mean, look at how fast this all went down. At 5:45, a gust of wind is all it takes. The fire jumps the gulch, cutting off their escape. Just 3 minutes later, at 5:48, the fire blows up. It gets so big, it creates its own weather, turning the whole gulch into a chimney of flame. By 5:56, less than 10 minutes after it jumped, it's over. The firestorm has overrun them. The race is on. Dodge is screaming at his men to drop their heavy tools, drop everything, and just run for the ridgetop 200 yards up that brutal slope. But he's doing the math in his head. The fire is less than 100 yards away, and it's moving way faster than they can run. He knows they are not going to make it. And right there, in that moment of pure, raw desperation, he does the unthinkable. He stops running. He pulls out a matchbook and lights the grass right in front of him. What was he doing? He was trying to burn a hole in the fire to create an island of black, a spot where all the fuel was already gone. He desperately motioned for his men to join him, to lie down in the hot ashes he'd just made. But they didn't. They ran right past him, to their deaths. To understand why, well, we have to look at the anatomy of this tragedy. The human cost was just staggering. Of the 16 men on that mountain, 13 would die. Only 3 survived. 2 were rookies who, by sheer luck, found a crack in a rock ledge to crawl into, and the third was Wag Dodge, who lay down in the ashes of his own fire and let the inferno just pass right over him. So why? Why did they run past the one thing that could have saved them? Well, first, Dodge's idea was a complete field invention. The escape fire wasn't in any training manual. They had literally never heard of it. Second, you have primal panic. Every single instinct in your body screams to run away from a monster, not towards a new fire. And third, and this is probably the most crucial part, trust was brittle. They were a team of strangers. They had just met that morning. They didn't have that deep, battle-tested bond you need to follow a command that looks like pure suicide. The tragedy was just immense, but their sacrifice was not in vain. Because out of the ashes of Mann Gulch, a complete revolution in firefighter safety was born. That thing Dodge invented on the slope? Well, it now has a formal name, an escape fire. And the logic is actually simple, and it's brilliant. You create a space where there is nothing left for the main fire to burn, and in doing so, you create a pocket of safety for yourself. And the impact of this disaster was profound. Dodge's invention? It's now standard survival doctrine for firefighters all over the world. The disaster led directly to the creation of the Missoula Fire Lab to actually study fire behavior. It established the 10 standard firefighting orders, which are the bedrock of safety today. And it sparked a brand new focus on just how important crew cohesion and trust really are. These men died because their leader invented a life-saving technique just 10 minutes too late to explain it. And because of their sacrifice, countless others have lived. Which really leaves us with a final thought, one that goes way beyond firefighting. In a moment of absolute terror, when you have only seconds to decide, what do you trust? Your own primal instinct telling you to run for your life? Or a leader whose command sounds like suicide? Where is that line between genius and madness when you have no time left to think?